And it's the dumbest bill in America, and it is a 75-cent per delivery tax from Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. We have with us the famous Brian Chisholm, a member of the House of Delegates from Maryland. We have Brian again. Thank you, Brian, for coming.
Always great to be here.
So, Brian, there's a tax in Maryland that Governor Wes Moore is proposing in his budget, and that would be 75 cents. I guess technically it's a fee, kind of, sort of. And the fee would be 75 cents for every time Amazon or Papa John's Pizza came to your door delivering something.
Yeah, so when the governor came out with his budget, the first thing he said is, we're going to focus on prosperity. And it reminded me of Winston Churchill, who said, a government that thinks it's going to tax itself into prosperity is like a man standing in a buckle and trying to lift himself up by the handles. That's what I feel like with this tax. I mean, if you think about it, it's a tax, right? 75 cents. So we're asking the consumer to pay an additional 75 cents. My question was, when I first heard this, was, well, what if my package is stolen off the front porch like we often see in this crime-ridden state of Maryland? What if it's an illegal? Are we then allowed to cooperate with ICE because they stole our package and we want our 75 cents back?
Well, yeah, actually, ICE could deliver a package, and then you're right. Maybe they would have to tax ICE too. But my understanding is the 75 cents is going to be tied to inflation. So in other words, every year when CPI is calculated, that's 75 cents per delivery of Amazon goods or pizzas or Uber Eats, this kind of thing. Every single year, that's going to increase by inflation. So it's really kind of like not just a fee, it's actually an actual tax.
Yeah, and it's brilliant when it comes to the government, right? Because at some point, the people forget about why they're being levied this tax. It's kind of like the gas tax, right? People go to get gas. They're like, oh my God, gas is out of control. It must be Exxon's fault. It must be Shell's fault. It must be those oil companies. They don't realize that the tax is going up every year. And if this is just like the CPI that we see with the gas tax, it never goes back down.
Exactly. So that actually is in Maryland, where it's tied to CPI, and this is what they do. So listen to this, podcast listeners. It's a tax. It's tied to CPI, so that way Democrats never have to come back and vote for another tax.
That's exactly right.
And that obviously is unconstitutional, because you can't have a perpetual tax that perpetually increases and not have a legislature that acts on that increase. And this is a problem. Now, of course, the Maryland Attorney General said it's perfectly legal, which of course it's not, because we the people didn't consent every single year to that new tax. But let's think about this for a minute, Brian. The state of Maryland has nothing to do with Amazon. Amazon says to you, hey, if you sign up for Amazon Prime, you're going to get free delivery. That's kind of a powerful thing. So people are like, yeah, Target, Amazon, whatever, I'm going to sign up for one of these programs and get free delivery. And then the state of Maryland is saying, you know what? We have nothing to do with the delivery process, but we want to put our hand in the middle between you and Amazon or you and Papa John's Pizza, and we want money. We had nothing to do with any of this. We invented nothing, but we still want money.
And I think Amazon's a great example of this, because I look today, we are actually the 50th out of 50 total states in labor costs. We're one of the most unfriendly business climates in the entire country. So we're running businesses out of here. So it's hard to get your products and your services, and you say, I'm going to order products. So it just ends up on my front door because there's nobody left on the city square for me to buy stuff from. So we've ran them out. Now we're going to charge people from other states to send stuff in here.
So let me ask you this. In Maryland, and this is one of the reasons why Brian and I, by the way, belong to the Freedom Caucus in Maryland. We belong to the Maryland State Freedom Caucus. We're proud members. We belong to this caucus because of the fact that legislatures across the country and the federal government, they are passing bills that continuously take your money and your freedom. And they think that, at least our legislature believes that, the Democrats believe, and by the way, I hate to say this, some Republicans too, they believe that by passing more legislation and more regulations and regulating every aspect of your life and taxing every aspect of your life, that somehow that's what they're supposed to do. And meanwhile, they're just taking away our freedoms, which is why we're part of the Freedom Caucus, right?
That's all we ask, right? We ask as the Freedom Caucus, please stop trying to help, because every time you help, it hurts so bad. We just want people to make their own decisions, to be able to thrive and run their own business and run their own lives. And all they want to do is mess with everything and try to run your life, because they are the smartest people in the room. And that's the ideology that they find. They know better than you. So they should be able to tax you however they want. And this is the most disgusting tax, because they never have to stand up for it. And down here in Annapolis, you and I know they thrive in darkness, and they don't want people to ever be held accountable for the nonsense they pass.
So lastly, Brian, Governor Wes Moore, his last job was running a nonprofit, right? So I'm wondering, does he think he's still running a nonprofit with the state of Maryland, where you just keep taking people's money? Oh yeah, make donations, taxpayers. It's just a donation. It's another 75-cent donation. This guy is running the state into the ground. He's adding more taxes, more fees. There were 300 last year. He wants to do so many more this year. So I'm thinking, do the taxpayers need a GoFundMe to be able to pay their bills?
It is run a lot like a nonprofit, in that in a nonprofit, there's really money coming in. There's oftentimes tons of money coming in, but people are just paying the right people until there's zero profit. Everybody's been fat and happy. And that's kind of the way the state runs now. We have never, ever had a revenue problem in this state. We have a spending problem.
Massive spending problem. That's perfect. We're going to leave it at that. That's the dumbest bill in America. An Amazon delivery fee every time they come to your door.